MazzaOnSports back here with you. Hopefully you guys have had a great, happy holidays and a happy Christmas season. A happy New Year too, as well to you all. Hope you guys have had a great New Year's, a great holiday season with your families and friends over the last week and a half. As we enter the last week of the NFL season, it's week 18. A lot is on the line, a lot of storylines to be met, a lot of divisions to be settled. Who's going to get home field advantage in the NFC? And we will, by the end of Sunday night, we'll know, beginning tomorrow night and after Sunday night slate of games, we'll know what the playoff picture and playoff field look like heading into next week. Like I said, I hope you guys have had a great holiday season, a great Christmas, a great New Year's. So obviously, this is a in sports. In sports, you're going to go through roller coasters with any team you follow and any team you're a fan of. And no bigger roller coaster of a team really displays that than the Baltimore Ravens themselves. The Baltimore Ravens last week were done. They have been the biggest roller coaster all season long in the NFL. At the beginning of the year, they were the clear as day Super Bowl favorites. Everyone was picking them to win the Super Bowl. Everybody was. They were 13, 14 wins. They're gonna it's their moment. They're gonna go all the way, win the Super Bowl. They have the team, they have the quarterback, they have the coach, what have you. It was their year for a lot of people. They then start off the season with the bad loss in Buffalo, blowing that 14, 15-point lead with 7 minutes to go. They then start off 1-3. They lose their quarterback. Lamar Jackson gets hurt with a hamstring injury. They lose the next 2 games after that. They're 1-5. They then get hot, and they win 5 in a row, beginning with a win against the Chicago Bears with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. So they beat the Bears, Tyler Huntley at quarterback. They rack off 5 in a row. Lamar Jackson comes back. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Browns, and they beat the Jets to go to 6-5. And it looks like the season's back on track. Everything's fine. Everything's hunky-dory, and they're going to walk and they'll waltz their way to the division title. Not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say. They lose to the Cincinnati Bengals at Thanksgiving in embarrassing fashion. Next week later, they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers in embarrassing fashion. Both of them home games, 3-5, by the way, at home this season. They then face the Bengals again the following week later at 6-7. They beat the Bengals, shut them out, 24-0, and go to 7-7, which opens up last week's game or 2 weeks ago's game against the New England Patriots. They lose that game. They go to 7-8. Lamar Jackson gets hurt again. He misses the rest of the game. And heading into the last week against the Green Bay Packers, the season was over. The season was over. The Green Bay Packers had just been the Green Bay Packers before the Ravens took the field against the Patriots. The Pittsburgh Steelers before the Ravens took the field against the New England Patriots. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Detroit Lions, and the Steelers were in complete control of the AFC North. All they had to do was get a win it in against the lowly Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, and the division would be over. Pittsburgh would win. Heading into the game against Green Bay, the season was over. The season was over. It was done. And we had the article. There was the article from the Baltimore Sun, Baltimore Sun's Mike Preston, and talking about Lamar Jackson and his status with the team and where he's at and everything like that. So there was all this noise. Lamar was going to miss the game on Saturday against the Packers due to the back injury suffered against New England. There was the Harbaugh, really for the first time, was in a long time, or really for the first time ever, was being asked about his job security heading into the game against the Green Bay Packers. He was being asked about his job security. A lot of noise, a lot of tension, a lot of questions surrounding the Ravens heading into the game against the Packers last Saturday night. And they responded in a way that we've been waiting for them to respond and play throughout the entire season. Now, granted, yes, they played a backup quarterback. Malik Willis played this game due to Jordan Love, who suffered an injury against the Bears the previous week. So this was, again, like I said, a lot of noise, a lot of questions heading into this game about the Ravens' future. And then they responded with maybe their best game of the season, at least on offense. And it was Derrick Henry, who obviously Harbaugh heard the questions. Why didn't you give it to him against the Patriots? what happened there, why wasn't he on the field. Harbaugh kind of gave a half or so answer the day or two after they lost to New England, which you'd expect out of Harbaugh because, again, there's really no other reason why you didn't give him the ball. So what else are you going to say? He gives Derrick Henry the ball. And look, before I praise Derrick Henry with all the praise that he's been given over the last week, Tyler Huntley deserves a lot of credit. I said on Twitter he did the number 5 well. He wears number 5, obviously. That was Joe Flacco's old number, and he did that number 5 well. He went out there against the Packers in a big game, must-win game, had to have it to at least keep your season going and at least put the pressure on the Pittsburgh Steelers to follow up the next day against the Cleveland Browns. And he played well. He played good, efficient football. He really did. He did well running the football as well. He was accurate with his passes, made a great touchdown pass to Zay Flowers. That was a great throwing play by Zay, a great throw by Tyler, and a great throw by Zay, and a great catch by Zay. So credit to Tyler Huntley also as well. Huntley played a fantastic game. And credit also to the offensive line. They played maybe their best game of the season. Yeah, that includes Daniel Falale. They played their best game of the season as well. And that opened it up for, of course, Derrick Henry, who had the best game of his Ravens, one of the best games of his career, of his already Hall of Fame career. And certainly I would say the best game that he's ever had as a Raven over his 2 years he's been in Baltimore. 4 touchdowns on the day, all rushing, 3 of them at halftime. He had a hat trick before halftime. It was the performance that I'm sure Derrick Henry has been waiting to have all season long, really, even though he's had a good year. But, of course, it has been marred with the fumbles. But he's been kind of waiting to have a performance like this all season long. And the offense drops a 40-burger, or let me just double check that number. I'm pretty sure it was a 40-burger that they dropped against the Packers on Saturday. Yes, it was. It was a 40-burger, 41 points. The offense has their best game of the season with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, and they drop a 40-burger on a banged-up Green Bay Packer team and a banged-up Green Bay defense, but it's at Green Bay and no Micah Parsons, but it's at Green Bay with a backup quarterback to drop 40 on them. Pretty impressive. And they have their best offensive game of the season after really lagging on offense for the really most of the season. Now, obviously, after the first couple of weeks, of the season, the Ravens offense just kind of went in a stalemate for almost 3 or 4 months before this game on Saturday. So you've been kind of waiting for them to get back on track and really having an offensive game to their capabilities. And they finally did on Saturday with Huntley. So they win their game. They win that game. It's a feel-good moment, a feel-good night on last Saturday. Henry has a fantastic game, 35 carries, over 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, 35, 40 carries plus, 35 plus carries, over 200 yards plus, 4 touchdowns, 3 of them at halftime. And the Ravens, while defensively didn't have their best day, as a matter of fact, Malik Willis, before he suffered an injury and they took him out of the game for Tune, Malik Willis was having a good day, and the defense really didn't have their best day, really, period. I mean, I can't say they had a great day. Marlon Humphrey even though he had an interception, he's had 3 weeks in a row with an interception, he had a bad day. Nate Wiggins, who has been pretty good throughout his first 2 years, certainly had his worst day as a pro on Saturday. So the defense really didn't play up to snuff against the backup quarterback and Malik Willis. They kind of made Malik Willis look good. Malik Willis, look, to his credit, I'm not trying to criticize. I'm not trying to, throw shade at him. Malik Willis has actually looked pretty good when he's gone in from last year, this year, whatever the Tennessee Titans. But then again, whatever the Tennessee Titans are doing with him, obviously wasn't working for him, because since he's been in Green Bay, whenever he's been on the field, he's played well, Malik Willis. So good for Malik Willis. And look, Mike LaFleur and Malik Willis, look, they might have something with him. I'm not saying Jordan Love should be replaced or should be benched or anything. Jordan Love's a pretty solid, darn good quarterback. But they obviously got something Malik Willis over there in Green Bay. So Malik Willis, he's a free agent, I believe, at the end of the season. Definitely, and he's young and he can move and he's got a decent arm. Definitely watch for some team to give him a nice contract to give him the keys to maybe be a starter next year. So credit to Malik Willis, who's looked pretty good in relief of Jordan Love whenever he's been in. But to the defense, they didn't play their best. They gave Malik Willis, again, their pass rush didn't really get much out of the pass rush. Malik Willis had all day to go. Their secondary with Humphrey and Wiggins were not having a good day at all. So The defense didn't have a great day, but their offense was the one that carried the day. And Derrick Henry, being Derrick Henry, carried the day, carried the game, and kept the Ravens season going for at least one more day, and put the pressure on the Steelers to win their game against the Cleveland Browns. And it was going to take a lot, right? It was at Cleveland, yes, but all the Steelers had to do was win it in. The Browns have struggled all year long, maybe not on defense, but certainly on offense. It didn't look like this would be a good day for the Cleveland Browns or the Baltimore Ravens, and the Pittsburgh Steelers would win the division. As Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. The Cleveland Browns, look, the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last many years, and I date this back to 2011 when they lost to Tim Tebow and the Broncos in the playoffs, under Mike Tomlin, as great of a coach as he is, they seem to always have that one or few letdown games that they have. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have actually lost 3 in a row going into this game, or 3 out of 4 going into this game at Cleveland. So it's been a while. The Cleveland Browns have actually gotten some wins over the Pittsburgh Steelers ever since really they beat them in the playoffs in 2020, because Ben Roethlisberger and those Steelers teams owned the Browns from his time there. But really starting from that game onwards in 2020, the Browns have gotten some wins against Pittsburgh, especially at Cleveland. But even still, it was a tall task. But the Cleveland Browns defense stepped up, because they've been one of the best defenses in football all season long. And you could tell the Pittsburgh Steelers really missed DK Metcalf. You could tell Aaron Rodgers really missed DK Metcalf as he serves his 2-game suspension. Of course, he's not playing this Sunday against the Ravens either. We'll get to that game. But Cleveland, their defense came to play offensively. They got 10 points in the first quarter. Shedeur looked good in the first quarter, but after that Shedeur looked in the first quarter, the first 10 minutes of the game, Shedeur Sanders looked like the first-round pick that many thought he could be. Then the rest of the game looked like the 5th-round pick that many thought that the Browns ended up picking him in. So a very great start for Shedeur, but he really struggled the rest of the way. But the Browns defense really picked up the slack. They also got some breaks with Boswell missing a kick, Boswell's been one of the best kickers in all of football, and he misses a kick in Cleveland. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers down by 7, with everything hanging in the balance, with the AFC North, the Steelers, and the Ravens season hanging in the balance. It all came down to Aaron Rodgers driving down the field, and boy, he did. He made 2 terrific throws to get the Steelers right around the red zone. And all they need to do was get in the end zone, then this thing would have been sent to overtime. And I think Pittsburgh would have won this game if this went to overtime, because I didn't foresee the Browns moving the ball on offense at all in overtime, because they barely did the rest of the game after they scored their 10 points. But for some reason, Aaron Rodgers threw it 3 straight times to Denzel Ward's territory. And Denzel Ward's one of the best corners in football. He's the best defensive player in the Browns, not named Myles Garrett, or maybe Carson Schlesinger is in there too. But Schlesinger's had a great year as well. But Denzel Ward is one of the best corners in the game. Especially when he's healthy. He's the best defensive player they have. He's the best player on the Browns they have, period. That's not named Myles Garrett. And you threw it at him 3 straight times, and it was ruled incomplete. There was obviously passes he missed over the middle that were open, plays he could have made that were open because he was throwing down the sidelines. Of course, there was thrown on 4th down to Scotty Miller. I even got a question Arthur Smith, who on 3rd and short late in the game with 7 minutes left, ran the football, was very conservative. You got Aaron Rodgers. What else did you get him for? You don't have Justin Fields. You don't even have, you don't have any of those guys that you've been looking, that you had before, that you were making excuses of why you weren't winning playoff games anymore. You got Aaron Rodgers for exactly this reason, to make these big throws on 3rd and short and such in these big moments, and you ran the football, and were conservative. So why did you have why'd you sign Aaron Rodgers in the first place if that's what you're going to do? I don't know. But Rodgers, for some reason, is not seeing the field. Again, this is what Rodgers, as great as he's been, has done throughout his career. He kind of sees a point. He thinks he can make that throw, and he's going to try to throw. someone could be open over the middle field and he's not, or whatever, and he's not going to either trust him or he's not going to see it. It's also part of the reason why Rodgers' interception total is low every year. It's always in the single digits. It's why his touchdown interception ratio is always low, or is always high touchdown, low interceptions. It's why it's always like the way it is, because he doesn't really throw it into traffic, but it's also what makes him great, because he's able to make those throws down the sideline in tight coverage, tight man-to-man, back shoulder passes. He's able to make those throws because he's got one of the best arms we've ever seen. But you saw the negatives of it on Sunday yet again, where he's missing an open guy. He had Kenneth Gainwell. Now, granted, this was 4th down. Gainwell is right there. If you throw it to, but he's also behind the end zone, so there's no guarantee he gets there. But if you just throw it to Gainwell, at least give him a chance, better than throwing it and challenging Denzel Ward again to, I think it was Mercedes Valdez-Scantling. So the Cleveland Browns, they hold off the Pittsburgh Steelers and win the game, pull off the upset, which sets up the scenario that no one thought we were going to see last week, because the season was over. The Ravens season was over. The AFC North belonged to the Steelers. We were heading to the offseason. Like I said, the article about Lamar from Mike Preston, Harbaugh being asked about his future. The Ravens were headed towards an uncertain offseason, and because of how they've responded to adversity, because of how they've responded to the noise, because of how they came out on Sunday against the Packers, and because of Cleveland doing them a big favor and winning that game against the Steelers and doing them and because of Cleveland winning that game against the Steelers on Sunday, we now have the Ravens and the Steelers, we didn't think we would see a week ago, Sunday night, this weekend, for the AFC North Division Championship. And a lot is on the line. A lot is on the line, because the loser of this game is going to have an uncertain future. It's not just the AFC North Division title that's up for grabs here on Sunday night. It's a lot. The loser of this game is going to have a very uncertain future, whether it's head coach or even quarterback. I don't think the Ravens trade Lamar Jackson. I'll keep saying it. I don't think they trade him. I think in the offseason they'll give him an extension. But until that contract is signed and sealed, we still don't know. And of course, with the Steelers, Tomlin's been there for 19 years plus, or 19 years since 2007. He hasn't won a playoff game in a decade. You got Aaron Rodgers to win you that playoff game, at least try to go deep into the playoffs. To then miss the playoffs, boy, that's tough. That is very tough. And not to mention the fact that you had the division, you had it, and all you had to do was beat the Cleveland Browns, and you couldn't, and you were able to do it, which sets yourself up for this game here. If they were to lose, there's a lot on the line here. This game has, the Ravens and Steelers have always played big games, huge games for the regular season, 5 postseason games. Almost forgot about last year. 5 postseason games, all that stuff. But this game, I'm not saying it's bigger than any of the postseason games. Definitely, those are postseason games. I don't know if it's the biggest regular season game they've ever played, but it's definitely going to be one of the biggest regular season games they've ever played, because a lot is on the line here. So much is on the line. And for the Baltimore Ravens, again, going back to the roller coaster, last week, their season was over. It was done. But now it has new life. And now the confidence and the momentum is back on the Ravens side now. You can sense it this week. You can say Lamar returns to practice. He's also answering the questions very straightforward and very, very determined, and just being in there and saying, look, I want to be here. I love being here. Responding to, of course, the article from the Baltimore Sun from last week saying he loves John Harbaugh, saying that, all that stuff, essentially saying that the article was bogus. And he's out there being straightforward to the press. He's now practiced a full week of practice, which is something he hasn't done since week 10 when they played the Vikings. The team now has, Harbaugh is talking like that too. You have the team talking like this too. They seem to have a lot of momentum on their side. A lot of people that if you listen to Pittsburgh and the Steeler fans, you can see them. They're not confident coming into this game. The Ravens are confident coming. So again, they're favored the Ravens coming in on Sunday night. So contrary to where we were a week ago at this time, Friday night at this time before the game against the Packers the next day, contrary to where we were, it is the other side, the other way, right? It is the diagram is completely, the paradigm shift has happened here. The diagram is completely shifted. The Steelers were feeling great last week, had all the momentum, and now today, a week later, 7 days later, it's the Ravens have all the momentum. Now the Ravens have all the momentum. Shout out, Josh. Hope you had a great Christmas and New Year and holiday season. But now the Ravens have all the momentum. The Ravens now have all the momentum coming in. So, and there is so much on the line. So much. But what a difference a week makes. What a difference. And again, there's been no bigger roller coaster for the Baltimore Ravens in this NFL season than the Baltimore Ravens. No bigger roller coaster. And now here we are. Here they are with a chance to win the division on Sunday, even after everything. All the noise, all the distractions, all the, who will be there next year, who's not, the future of this guy and this guy, possible rebuild, etc. I mean, I was talking a possible rebuild by who could go, right? Kyle, I was thinking some of the guys that could go, like Humphrey, Henry, Stanley, etc. after they lost to New England. Who are some of these? Because it was clear that this core just wasn't a core. It looked to me like this core wasn't a championship level core, So, and now here we are a week later, and the Ravens could have all momentum coming into Sunday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There has been no bigger roller coaster in the league than this. And again, we will find out where the Ravens and the Steelers will be on Monday morning. Or Sunday night at midnight, but Monday morning. We will see where they are because the loser of this game is going to have a very uncertain future. And like I said, the Ravens have been a roller coaster. We're feeling good now. Ravens are feeling good now. They have a big game on Sunday night, but if they lose, back to square one, right? Back to square one. This is a huge game. So much implications, so much on the line. And if you want me to say who has the most pressure, it's the Baltimore Ravens because they had all the expectations of the Super Bowl, right? All the expectations of the Super Bowl. Everyone was picking them to go to the Super Bowl. Everyone was. Everyone was picking them to go to the Super Bowl. If they would have missed the playoffs after all that, there's just no excuse. And Pittsburgh, look, they don't have Darnell Washington. He's out. DK Metcalf is serving his last game of suspension. He's out too. TJ Watt and Lamar Jackson, to be fair, TJ Watt and Lamar Jackson are both coming into this game hurting and banged up. TJ Watt is going to play in this game too. You knew he would because if Lamar Jackson was playing, you're darn sure TJ Watt was going to play. So we'll preview this game when we get to it, when we do our previews for the week. But this is going to be one of the biggest games in the history of the rivalry. I don't know if it's the biggest regular season game in the history of the rivalry. Definitely the one with a lot on the line. It's not just the AFC North and a spot in the playoffs and a playoff game next weekend. There's a lot of futures from head coach from head coach on. The loser of this game is going to have a lot of questions on Monday morning. The winner can breathe in the playoffs, celebrate, pop, hats and T-shirts, as they like to say, and keep their season going for another week. And if you're the Ravens, look, man, this is a wide open AFC. There is no great team in the AFC. None. No great team. If the Ravens get in, they can definitely make a run. But again, we've said that for 8 years now, right? Said that for 8 years, right? 8 years we've said that. If the Pittsburgh Steelers get in, they can sure as heck make a run. I mean, they got a Hall of Fame, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, 4-time MVP quarterback. They got a defense that can get after the quarterback and get turnovers. So they can make a run too. There is no great team in the AFC this year. There's no great team in the NFL, period. but especially in the AFC when the Chiefs are out. The Bills certainly aren't taking advantage of it because the Bills, we'll get to their game against the Eagles, but they're not taking advantage of it. They're certainly not. The Broncos have a lot of questions, especially on offense. I don't really fully trust the Jaguars. The Texans have questions on offense. I don't really fully trust the Chargers, despite the great turnarounds they've had over the last years with Jim Harbaugh at head coach. I don't really trust the New England Patriots that much, even though they're a good team. I don't really trust them that much. And Drake may be the NFL MVP. He may be, but I don't fully trust them. The AFC is wide open. It's wide open to have. So if you're the Ravens, especially, you get in on Sunday night with a win, you can get to San Francisco. You can get there. But it starts on Sunday. Like I said, the momentum is now on your side. What will you do with that momentum? It's on your side. What will you do with that momentum? The season's a roller coaster. And there's been no bigger roller coaster than the Ravens. Where does the roller coaster lead this time? Where will the roller coaster lead for the Ravens this time? We'll see on Sunday night, and we'll find out. We'll find out then. But we'll find out then. To recap now, the remaining Week 17 games. Obviously, like I said, the Ravens on Saturday defeated the Packers 41-24 off the heels of a great Derrick Henry performance. On Monday night, the week before, the Niners beat the Colts. The Colts season is now over after they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. So they will now, Phillip Rivers is now pretty much now going to go into retirement now. Riley Leonard is now going to start this Sunday for the Colts against the Houston Texans. The Colts look to see and evaluate him. Interesting that it's not Anthony Richardson, but I also think it's because they're not really confident in Anthony Richardson with his vision. I think everything they were saying, and his eye injury, his orbital bone injury, and his vision. So that's why they're rolling with Riley Leonard on Sunday. But again, back to the Christmas Day games. The Cowboys beat the Commanders 30-23. Not really much to say. There's really not much to say about the two Christmas games, aside about two of the Christmas games, but there is a lot to say about the Lions and the Vikings. Cowboys beat the Commanders 30-23. Broncos beat the Chiefs 20-13. Once again, like I said, the Broncos having trouble on offense, having to squeak by a win over a Chiefs team that was playing a third-string quarterback. But the Detroit Lions, boy, you lost to a Vikings team. It's on the road, to be fair, but a Vikings team that played Max Brosmer as their quarterback. Max Brosmer went 9-16 for 51 yards. That was his stat line. Boy. There may not, look, the Ravens, if they lose on Sunday, you can label them the most disappointing team in the league this year. You could even label the Kansas City Chiefs the most disappointing team in the league this year. You could label the Ravens disappointment right now, whatever. But certainly if they lose on Sunday, you can label the Chiefs as a disappointment. There is no bigger disappointment in the league this year than the Detroit Lions. And they have a lot of work to do and a lot to figure out. To fall as far as they did this year and took a giant, especially in a year where Jared Goff has had a good season, but to have the disappointing season they had, it just first of all, it shows you how hard it is to maintain your success, but also just everything for them falls on lack of personnel on defense, especially in the secondary and the corners. And of course, just again, the over-aggressiveness of Dan Campbell. He's a darn good coach, but the over-aggressiveness of him continues to cost the Lions. And Dan Campbell might have to just, coming into next year, he might have to just tone it down a bit with the going for it on fourth down all the time. But for them to lose to the Vikings and Max Brosmer is just such a bad one. And by the way, to the Vikings, oh my goodness, just go get a quarterback, guys. Guys, just Vikings, go get a quarterback. You got the defense. You may even still have the defensive coordinator. Brian Flores may still be the defensive coordinator for you next year. Who knows? But you got the defense. You got the offensive playmakers. Just go get a quarterback, guys. Just go get a quarterback, please. You had a quarterback last year, and then you let him go to Seattle. Please go get a quarterback. Go find a quarterback, please. That's a team that's ready to go and win the division, the NFC North, and make a deep run in the playoffs. That's a team that's ready to win. The Vikings. Like, my goodness. Go find a quarterback, please. I already went through the Ravens game, of course. Saturday, the Texans beat the Chargers 20-16. Boy, what a weird mess of a game. Just really displayed both the positives and the negatives of the Texans and the Chargers. And it showed you again why I'm not fully confident in them. You saw the Chargers again, too many plays, too many drop plays, too many drop passes from balls from Justin Herbert. Guys not making plays for him. The Texans, great defensive performance again, but you also saw their offense, Stroud making a couple of bad mistakes that let the Chargers back into it. So again, it's a game. This was a game where we definitely saw that these are two teams that you could definitely see when they get there, they might, they could lose in the first round. You don't know where they're going. Houston has a great defense. They have a great defense, but how far can this offense take them? That's a defense that's ready to make a deep run in the AFC playoffs, but how far can CJ Stroud and this offense take them? We'll have to find out. Into Sunday's action, the Dolphins beat the Bucs 20-17. Boy, oh boy, Tampa Bay. Boy, oh boy, Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield, as great as he's been for the Bucs over the last 2 years, is showing you his Cleveland Browns version and why Cleveland traded him. And they say, you're seeing it. And I like Baker, and I'm happy to see him succeed and turn his career around. But over these last 8 weeks, and the Bucs being 1-7, you've seen why the Browns traded him away. And you've seen the Bucs defense and why Todd Bowles, great defensive coordinator. And I love Todd Bowles. Great defensive coordinator, but a head coach, it's just baffling to me that as a head coach, his defenses just don't play up to snuff. And again, his defense is letting him down. Quinn Ewers. The Dolphins played Quinn Ewers on Sunday. Remember, a week ago, Quinn Ewers at 14-22, about 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. Remember, a 126 rating. The Miami Dolphins last week got humiliated and beaten down by the Bengals. Joe Burrow had a fantastic day against the Dolphins the week before. For the Bucs to come out and lose to Miami, and you're now 1-7 your last 8 games, and now you are not in control of your own destiny at all because of what transpired on Monday night. We'll get to that. But goodness gracious, the Bucs are just a mess. And again, I feel for Todd Bowles, but if the Bucs do indeed miss the playoffs, I can't see him being back in Tampa Bay. I can't see him being back in Tampa Bay. And I can also see the Bucs maybe looking for another quarterback, or at least to maybe draft one next in the next offseason. Because look, Baker's been great for 3 years. Baker's been great for 2 years, but a season like this and a collapse like this, especially he's on only a 3-year, $100 million contract, that can look for the Bucs to look at Baker and go, but we'll see. But the Bucs, man, my goodness. As we said before, the Jaguars beat the Colts 23-17. The Colts are now out of playoff contention. Their season's over, and they're going to roll with Riley Leonard this week at quarterback. The Browns went through the Browns-Steelers game. Browns beat the Steelers 13-6, which sets up the Ravens and the Steelers on Sunday night. The Saints, in a great game, beat the Titans 34-26. We saw really a showcase of, let's be honest, the two best rookie quarterbacks in this year, and Cam Ward and Tyler Show, who has been great for the Saints. I mean, the New Orleans Saints are going to have the New Orleans Saints are really getting a good look at Show and what he can do. But this was a great game, a great showcase of these two guys' talent. Cam Ward is really good. The kid's a stud. But Tyler Show, 22-27, 2 touchdowns, 333 yards. Cam Ward, 21-40, 251, 2 touchdowns. Both had a fantastic day. Chris Olave had 10 catches for over 100 yards. And Chris Olave had, how much did he have 10 catches? I thought he did. Okay, no, okay, he didn't. I apologize. Well, let me see. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Did he have 10 catches? Okay, 8 for 119 and a touchdown. Sorry. 8 for 119 and a touchdown Chris Olave had. The Saints are getting a great look at a Tyler Show. And now the Saints all of a sudden went from, well, we need a quarterback to, maybe we have our quarterback. Anyway, maybe we have our quarterback on the roster. But the Saints win that game. The Saints continue to finish the season strong. The New Orleans Saints. This is a Saints team that looked like the worst team in football throughout the first month or 2 months of the season. But Tyler Show has given the Saints some optimism now as they head into the draft and into next year. And like I said, Cam Ward is at least giving the Titans a lot of optimism too. The Titans need to get the coach right, need to get the defense right. The Patriots beat the Jets 42-10. Guys, this game was over in the first quarter. It was 14-0 New England the first quarter, and the game was over. Look, there's not, and Drake May was awesome. 2 incompletions. I think it was a perfect day of passing, whatever it was. Look, guys, look, Jets. I know the season's over. And I know that, it's another lost season, 15 straight years now of no playoffs. But and this is to the Jet players and to Aaron Glenn, who I like. You need to show better effort than that. The Jets have been utterly dominated over the last 4 weeks. And I know they've played good teams, the Patriots, the Jaguars, but really that's it. I mean, Miami is out. They had 2 at quarterback day, but Miami is out. The Saints obviously have been out, but they've obviously played better with Show. But the last 4 weeks have been embarrassing. It's been embarrassing. And all I've looked for and asked for the Jets is to just battle. Show competitiveness and battle. We haven't seen that the last 4 weeks, and it's disheartening. And look, part of it is that you got nothing on offense. You're starting Brady Cook at quarterback. And I get it. You want to evaluate him and see where he is into next year, et cetera. But I think you've seen enough of Brady Cook to know what you have. I think you've seen enough of Brady Cook to know what you have. And, of course, you know what draft positioning probably, maybe. I don't know. But I need to see more battle. I need to see more heart. I hope the Jets – and, look, I hope the Jets go out there on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo and just play hard, man. I don't care if you win or lose. Just play hard. Just show some heart. Show some battle. Because you have shown none of it the last 4 weeks, and that's really disheartening. And that is also not a good look for Aaron Glenn. It's not a good look for Aaron Glenn either. You got to at least show some heart and some battle. This team has a boatload of work to do, and they'll either have the number 3 overall pick, maybe even the number 2 pick by off chance, some wacky stuff. They'll have the number 1 pick, but chances are they'll stay with the number 3 overall pick. But they have a lot of work to do. They need to fix a lot. And that's why I'm not on board of firing Aaron Glenn and movie. I'm not doing that. The Jets cannot fire a head coach right now. You can't. There's so much of a mess that the Jets have, and it's not Aaron Glenn's fault. The Jets have been a mess for 15 straight years. You can't just keep firing guys after 2 years. You have to get some stability, and you have to let these guys work. Look, these 2 guys, Moogie and Glenn, have several top picks over the next 2 years, both in the first and the second round. You have to let them build the team. Build the team and build the players. But I need to see some heart still. Even in a lost season like this, I need to see better than what I've seen the last 4 weeks from the Jets. So, up next is the Bengals beating the Cardinals 37-14. Another great game by Joe Burrow. Second week in a row, he's played fantastic. And it's still though another great game by the Bengals and Joe Burrow against a team like the Cardinals. It's out of it, just like the Dolphins were in starting Quinn Ewers. Joe Burrow went 24-31, 2 touchdowns, 305 yards. So again, it's just one of those games where the Bengals were the better team against the worst team, even though the Bengals aren't that great, even aren't that good. And it was Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense really just having their day against a woeful team like the Cardinals last week was the Dolphins. But again, it gives you the if you're the Cardinals, again, it is, if you're the Cardinals, look, again, you kind of like for the Jets, you need to see better effort than that. If you're the Cardinals, I don't know if Jonathan Gannon will be back for the Cardinals next year, but we do know Zach Taylor's will be back for the Bengals. If you're the Bengals, it is, even though it was against a team that's not competing right now, it is another look at what could have been for the Bengals, both with Joe Burrow and with Joe Flacco at quarterback, because you both got good performances out of those guys, and you didn't get defensive performances like you did from your defense against. Granted, again, it was against Quinn Ewers and Jacoby Brissett, but you didn't get defense performances like this against the Cardinal, against with Burrow or Flacco at quarterback. And if you did, you'd be fighting for a playoff spot. Heck, you probably might be even fighting for the division title right now. So, if they would have gotten more defensive efforts like these last 2 weeks, or even against Baltimore and or even against the Ravens on Thanksgiving, you would be in a position to make the playoffs. So, it's just again, the last 2 weeks for the Bengals have really just been this would have been the kind of season we could have had. So, I did get speaking of Flacco, I did get a good kick out of of him. The whole, you saw the sideline love it, everything, the fans were loving it. But he came into the game. Obviously, the Bengals already won. He came into the game for Joe Burrow. Game is already won. Third down, and you see him running and diving for a first down. That got the fans going crazy and loving it. The Bengals sideline was loving it. Dude's 41, going to be 42 years old in a couple of weeks. Games, the Bengals already have it. The Bengals already won the game, essentially. The Bengals already won. And there he is. Here's Joe Flacco, 42 years old, scrambling and running and diving, Superman diving for first downs. So, hey, you got to love it. Love of the game, right? But the Bengals win that game against the Cardinals. Up next in the week was Seahawks beating the Panthers 27-10. Again, another tough sledding for the Seahawks offense. Defensively, they were great again. Their defense is just so good. It's so good, their defense. Another tough sledding day for the Seahawks offense. And again, if this team is going to go anywhere deep into the playoffs, they're going to need that offense to open it up, and they can't really run the football. And I don't really think McDonald fully trusts Sam Darnold, but you're going to have to open it up. You can't be conservative come playoff time. Mike McDonald, this will be your first taste at the playoffs as a head coach. You can't be conservative on offense. You've got to let Sam Darnold throw the football, and you got to open it up. So this was another tough sledding for the Seahawks offense, but they still won the game 27-10. Sam Darnold on the day was 18-27 with a touchdown and a pick and $147 passing. The Panther loss obviously didn't hurt them because Tampa Bay lost to Quinn Ewers and the Bucs. And that sets up the winner. That sets up the big game tomorrow night. The winner of that game. It's interesting. If the Panthers win, they win the division. We'll get to the Bucs side of things in a minute. But if the Panthers win that game tomorrow against the Bucs, they will win the NFC South. And boy, that's a heck of a story, right? No one saw the Panthers win the division. Nobody did. Even though the Panthers finished the season last year strong. Nobody saw them win the division. It was all Tampa Bay. And now the Panthers go to Tampa tomorrow with a chance to win the division. We'll get to the Bucs side in a second. Tank Bowl, Giants-Raiders. Giants beat the Raiders 34-10, which now has locked up the Raiders essentially, barring anything wacky. The Raiders will be the team that will have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And I assume next week, the winner of Indiana-Oregon will be the quarterback they pick. The winner of the quarterback who wins the Indiana-Oregon game, whether it's Dante Moore of Oregon or Fernando Mendoza of Indiana, next week's game will be a Raider. But the Raiders will have the number 1 overall pick more than likely because of this result of the Giants beating 34-10. The 49ers in a classic on Sunday Night Football beat the Bears 42-38. Classic game. Came down to the last drive, last play in the end zone. Bears weren't able to score a touchdown there, but it was a great game nonetheless. Brock Purdy bounced back very well after a pick six and had a great game in the opening drive, and then had a great game. Caleb Williams continues to play really well as the season goes on, and as the Bears head into the playoffs. They're, of course, the NFC North. The Bears are now the NFC North champions after the Ravens beat the Packers last week on Saturday. But a great game nonetheless. San Francisco just outlasts them, outplays them, but San Francisco just is able to make that one last play on defense to win the game. And that sets up tomorrow night, 49ers Seahawks in San Francisco. The winner will have the NFC West Division Championship and will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So huge implications for that game tomorrow night. We'll talk about that in a second. Eagles-Bills. Eagles beat the Bills 13-12. And this is a game why I do not trust the Bills in the AFC playoff picture. The Bills were fine defensively, but again, offensively, it was just offensively. not much weapons, not much receivers for Josh Allen. Couldn't make Sean McDermott. You missed the extra point. Sean McDermott goes for 2, even though I think he should have kicked the extra point. Allen, the play was there. I know, but I would have kicked the extra point. But Allen misses the throw, and the Eagles just edge out a win, even though their offense wasn't great at all. Again, it was just a game between two teams that can go far. You've seen the Eagles win the Super Bowl. They've been in the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years. A game between two teams that you think could go deep, but again, they have questions. Eagles with offense, Bills with everything, coaching, offense, defense, everything. So, but the Bills again, let this game slip away. The AFC East now belongs to the New England Patriots. They win the division as a result of this game. And now the Bills are going to have to go on the road. The Bills now have to go on the road and away from Ralph Wilson to if they want to make the Super Bowl. So another rough loss for the Bills, and I just don't trust them coming into the postseason. I still trust Philly despite their offensive problems, but I just don't trust Buffalo at all. Monday night, the Falcons pull off the upset. They beat the Rams 27-24, and now tomorrow, because the Falcons are ahead of the Bucs in the division. It's kind of weird, kind of wacky, but then again, that's the NFC South for you. It's wacky. The Bucs now have to win tomorrow, and then hope the Falcons lose to the Saints. With, by the way, no Chris Olave. Olave is out for that game on Sunday between the Saints and the Falcons. So the Bucs need a win and a Saints win, but no Chris Olave. He's out with an injury. But the Bucs now, they don't control their own destiny. 6-2. All they needed was maybe at least 3 more wins. And you're 1-7 your last 8. You've lost to the Falcons. You've lost to the Panthers. You lost to the Dolphins. You lost to the Saints. I mean, these were games you should have won. Panthers, Falcons, Dolphins. These were games you should have won. These were all games you should have won, and you weren't able to win. And now the Bucs are in this position where they don't control their own destiny, and now they have to win and need help. They need a win and need help for the Bucs. So, but they lost to the Saints. They lost to the Saints, lost to the Falcons, lost to the Panthers, the Dolphins. These are games that you can't lose to. You can't lose to these teams. You're better than these teams. And I know the Bucs have had injuries, but you can't be losing those games to these teams. And now they need to win and help. So, on from the recap of Week 17 comes the previewing of Week 18. So much is on the line. So let's get to it. Tomorrow night's games between the Bucs and the Panthers. It's in Tampa Bay, 4:30. It's on ESPN. I am picking the Panthers. I just have no confidence in the Buccaneers whatsoever. I think their confidence level is at a low. You can tell from Todd Bowles' press conference that he's just irritated. And Baker Mayfield's frustrated. The Bucs seem low. They seem done. And boy, not a good way to send Gene Deckerhoff off. Gene Deckerhoff has been the long-time broadcaster for the Buccaneers for so many years. This will be his last game. He does play-by-play for the Bucs on set tomorrow night in Tampa Bay. Really just seems like a bad way to send off the guy off. He's been a great broadcaster, not just for the Bucs, but for the NFL when it comes to play-by-play guys in the NFL, around the NFL. But he retires, and just like I said, a bad way to send him off if you're the Bucs and you're a Bucs fan. I just have no confidence in Tampa Bay right now. No confidence. So I'm going with the Panthers to win tomorrow and to win the NFC South and to make the playoffs. Seahawks 49ers, and the biggest game of the year, really. Whoever wins will get the NFC South, NFC West, and home field throughout the playoffs. I know it's in San Francisco, but I'm picking the Seahawks. I just think they have the better defense, and I don't think Purdy will have a great day like he has the last couple of weeks. The Seahawks have a great defense, and I do think the Seahawks will get just enough out of their offense to win this game. I'm picking Seattle to win this game and have home field advantage throughout the playoffs and the NFC West. Packers, Vikings, I think John Toon is starting for the Packers. J.J. McCarthy starts for the Vikings, so I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings in this game. Colts, Texans, Riley Leonard is playing this game. Boy, what a test for Riley Leonard. What a test for Riley Leonard. Oh, your first start in your NFL career, you're a rookie, go face the Houston Texans defense in Houston. So I'm taking the Texans in a big one. Cowboys, Giants, I'm picking the Cowboys in this one. Browns and the Bengals. I think Myles Garrett gets the sack record. I think Myles Garrett will get the sack record on Joe Burrow. Bengals offensive line isn't particularly good. I think Garrett will get the record against Burrow. He'll break the record, but I think the Bengals win this game and finish the season with a win. So Garrett gets the sack record, but the game's in Cincinnati. Garrett gets the sack record, but the Bengals, I think, win the game. Saints at Falcons. Like I said, this is the game where the Bucs need help, but with no Chris Olave, I'm going to pick the Atlanta Falcons to win. So even if Tampa Bay were to win tomorrow, Carolina, I think, would still win the division with a Saints win. Titans, Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence is playing in this game. I think they are because the Jaguars, they will play. The Stars will play for the Jaguars because the Jaguars are still in line for the AFC number 1 seed. But I'm going to take the Jaguars to win this one over the Tennessee Titans. Jets, Bills. Like I said, please show some fight, Jets. Please show some fight. I know, I don't know for sure if Josh Allen is playing this game. I know Josh Allen is banged up, and I think the Bills are locked into the 5th seed, I think, or the 6th seed. Well, actually, Josh Hamilton practiced today. He did practice today for the Bills. He's good to go. So Josh Allen, according to Sean McDermott, so Josh Allen is going to play this Sunday against the Jets. So I'll take the Bills. So I'll pick the Bills in this game against the Jets. Lions, Bears. Lions at Chicago. Give me the Bears in this one in Chicago. Chargers, Broncos. Interesting game. I will pick the Broncos to win this one in Denver. So that puts the Denver Broncos with home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the AFC. And really, the Broncos really need home field advantage. I think the Broncos need home field advantage more than the Seahawks and the 49ers do. But they need it more than any team in the league, the Broncos. I think the only way, if they're going to go to the Super Bowl, they would have to go through with home field advantage. Chiefs and the Raiders. Believe it or not, I'm going to pick the Oakland. I'm going to pick the Oakland. I'm going to pick the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to pick the Las Vegas Raiders in this game against the Chiefs in Las Vegas. Dolphins at the Patriots. I'm picking the Patriots. Picking the Patriots again. They're going to play their guys, at least I think, because again they're still in line to try to get the number 1 seed, which is why Denver is also playing at 4:30. Commanders, Eagles. I assume Jalen Hurts and the rest of the starters are going to play against the Commanders. No, I'm sorry. My bad. Timeout. My bad. I saw earlier before today. I almost forgot. Tanner McGee is starting for the Eagles. He will face Josh Johnson of the Commanders. But I will pick the Eagles in this one. So in the battle of Tanner McGee against Josh Johnson, I'm going to take Tanner McGee and the Eagles and to win this game in Philly. Cardinals, Rams. Rams need a win to hopefully keep their home field advantage hopes alive. So I will take the Rams and Matthew Stafford. Although also the Rams, they need a win to stay hot coming into the playoffs. They do. They've now lost 2 tough ones in a row. Stafford's coming off a bad game against Atlanta. Whether they have home field advantage or whether the Rams can still win the NFC West or not, home field advantage or not, they need a win to at least continue to get hot into the playoffs. Well, obviously they can't win the NFC West and can't get home field advantage. Again, how quick the NFL season changes, right? The Rams it looked like a few weeks ago they were in line to have home field advantage and win the West. That's out of the picture now because they lost to the Saints and losing to Atlanta. So now I just think they need a win just to get some momentum going to the playoffs. Last thing they need, though, is to face Philly in January again. And, of course, the season finale of the NFL regular season, Ravens at the Steelers. The winner of this game will win the AFC North Division Championship. The goal for the Ravens is this. Get after Aaron Rodgers. Run the ball with Derrick Henry. Lamar is going to be back for this game. He will have back pay. He will have some padding, though, in his back. How effective will he be? That's to be seen. We'll have to see and find out on Sunday night. How effective will TJ Watt be on Sunday night? We'll have to see. The Ravens, it's this. Get after. The Ravens defense has had trouble all year long applying consistent pass rush. You have to get after. You have Kyle Van Noy has missed practice. He came back today. I believe he's questionable heading into this game. Kyle Van Noy, let me just double check that. Yeah, TJ Watt and Steelers good to go for the Steelers. As for the Steelers line, questionable Rashad Bateman, Tavon Bryant, and Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey was sick. Rashad Bateman is sick. So it looks like Kyle Van Noy will play. He's on the injury report. It looks like Kyle Van Noy is set to play. He did return to practice today. But they need to apply a pass rush on Aaron Rodgers. I know there's no DK Metcalf, so that should help. for the Ravens, but you can't allow Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, 4-time MVP, a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, to have time in the pocket. He will beat you regardless of who's out there. You have to apply pressure on Aaron Rodgers and hit him. You have to apply pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And for the offense, you just give the ball to Derrick Henry. Just give it to Derrick Henry. Let him – Lamar's back, great. Let him ride you. Let Derrick Henry ride you to the AFC North Division Championship. The last time the Ravens played the Steelers, the Ravens lost, but the Ravens ran for over 200 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers in that game. Not every day in the Ravens' history, but the Ravens have a great day running the football and they lose. They usually win when they have great days running the football. They ran for over 200 yards the last time. Run it again. Run the ball with Derrick Henry. Run it with Keaton Mitchell. Let Derrick Henry carry you to the AFC North Division Championship. It's why you got him. You got Derrick Henry for games like this, right? You got him for games like this. So give him the football. Just give him the football. So the secondary has to have a better day than they did against Malik Willis. Humphrey and Wiggins both have to have better days. But it's about the front, winning their one-on-one battles and applying pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And it's running the football with Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell, but especially Derrick Henry. For the Steelers, their keys is to get after Lamar. Again, how healthy is TJ Watt? We're going to have to find out. For the Steelers, it's getting after Lamar, applying pressure on him, testing him to see how healthy he really is. And on offense, there's not much to throw to for Rodgers, but they got to run the football. They got to run with Warren. They got to run with Mitchell. So it's really the same thing, right? Ravens and Steelers, it's the same thing. Get a pressure on the quarterback, run the football effectively, especially with the Steelers, because who are they going to throw to? Who do they have? Mercedes Valdez-Scantling, Scotty Miller, Pat Frymuth, they're still their featured tight end, obviously. So they got him still, but who else? Who else? So it's really the same game plan for each team. Apply pressure on the quarterback and run the football. So my pick for this game is the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens win the game. And I think it'll be a close, hard-fought Ravens-Steeler game. And I think the Ravens win this game in a close one. It might come down to Tyler Loop, making a big kick here in Pittsburgh in his rookie season. But I think the Ravens will ride the wave of Derrick Henry, and they'll make just enough plays on defense because, again, no DK Metcalf is huge. DK Metcalf being out for this game is huge. I think the defense will make just enough plays to win, and I think Derrick Henry, they'll ride the wave of Derrick Henry to the AFC North Division Championship and into the playoffs. So what happens after that for the Ravens in the playoffs, we'll have to find out. But I think the Ravens will win on Sunday, and I'm picking them to win that game. But that'll be it for today on MazzaOnSports. Let's just check to see if there's any other updates before we head out for the weekend, and I will see you guys over. Oh, of course, got to talk a little bit about some professional wrestling. SmackDown obviously is tonight. 3 hours. Yay. More 3 hours of professional wrestling on cable television from here every week now. And that's on Friday nights this time. Not Monday nights, but Friday nights on SmackDown. I don't know. Again, SmackDown, they don't have the roster right now to do 3 hours, to do 3 hour shows. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this tonight. They need roster guys. They need depth. They need some guys. They need more. They need wrestlers from Raw. They need wrestlers from NXT. SmackDown needs a lot if they're going to make this a good show. 3 hours now. I mean, they could barely do 2 hours with their roster. Now they're going to go 3. So obviously we'll see how they do. We'll see how tonight's show goes on SmackDown. Dynamite, the aftermath of World's End. MJF is the new AEW World Champion for the second time. He's now going to have a match with Bandito in a few weeks for the title, who Bandito, of course, won the Diamond Ring. Mercedes Moné lost the TBS Championship to Willow, so we're starting that story really with Mercedes. That story is really getting going now. She's now lost the TBS Championship. Mercedes and Willow is having a huge push as the tag team champions with Cameron, and now she's the TBS champion. So you have that. There's going to be the tag team. There's going to be Kenny Omega. I thought it was very interesting. Kenny Omega made had a promo with him, or a via satellite promo with MJF that said he's now back in the singles competition. He's now looking to win the world championship. So good. Kenny Omega Singles star Kenny Omega is the best Kenny Omega. Let's just stop with the Don Callis crap. Let's just stop with the Young Bucks crap. Kenny Omega needs to be a singles guy competing for the title. So let's get him going there. And then on Monday Night Raw, I'm kind of going reverse, I know. But on Monday Night Raw, I thought Punk and Braun had a very good promo, a very good back and forth promo between the two to set up their title match next Monday night. So I thought Punk and Braun had a very good segment together for their promo. We have new WWE Tag Team Champions, and it's the Usos. Yeet, it's the Usos again. So Jey Uso, they've moved him, at least for now, out of the singles run, back into a tag team with his brother. They defeated AJ Styles and Dragon Lee for the tag team championships. So now they are the tag team champions once again. Be interesting to see how long they hold on to them, but they're the tag team champions again. And Gunther defeated R-Truth in his first match since he beat John Cena at Saturday Night's main event. So that's kind of been so in a small bit, and in a book here. That's a bit of a recap of your week in wrestling. NXT. We had what happened? Ricky Saints. It was taped actually. So the NXT was taped for the week before the main event. Ricky Saints defeated Javon Evans, and I expect Javon Evans to be on SmackDown. Or Raw, whichever. But SmackDown can really use Javon Evans. But that's kind of your week in wrestling recap, just for very smally. But on Monday, I'll be back to talk about SmackDown because next week on SmackDown will be Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship in a 3 stages of hell match. So we'll see. I think we're going to find out tonight what the matches will be. But that'll be next Friday night. I gotta think Drew McIntyre is winning, right? Right? You gotta think Drew McIntyre is winning, right? But next Monday night, we will be on after Raw. We will recap all the NFL action. We will talk about the big Monday Night Raw show next week, the 1-year anniversary since they've been on Netflix and everything. We'll talk about the matches, and we'll talk about CM Punk and Braun Breaker, and talk about the CM Punk Braun Breaker match. And the winner of that one, because it'll be very interesting to see who wins that one. But that'll be it for today's episode of MazzaOnSports. Thank you guys very much for tuning in and listening. I greatly appreciate it. Give this video a like, share, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday to recap everything in the NFL, and have a great night.